First, they ignore you. Then, they reject you. But one day they come back and act like they never left. At some point in your life, a woman you deeply cared for rejected you. She said you weren't enough. She moved on. She seemed happy without you. And in your heart, it crushed something deep inside. You tried to hide the pain. You told yourself you didn't care. But the silence she left behind, it was louder than any words she could have spoken. Months pass, maybe years. You've started focusing on yourself. You've changed. You've grown stronger. And then, like a ghost from your past, she suddenly reappears. She's checking in. She wants to catch up. She asks, "How have you been?" And you're left thinking, why now? Why come back after walking away? This contrast, the man you were when she left and the man you've become when she returns, is where everything changes. That's what this video is about. We're diving deep into the real reason women come back after rejecting you, not from bitterness or hate, but from a place of ancient wisdom, from the teachings of Stoicism, from the power of self-mastery, inner peace and silence that speaks louder than words. Because you see, Stoics like Marcus Aurelius taught us that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. And that's what you did. You became better, not bitter. That transformation, your quiet evolution, creates a magnetic force, and suddenly you're no longer chasing, you're being observed. But listen carefully, this isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. This is about becoming the kind of man who no longer needs validation from others. And that's exactly when they seek your validation the most. This video will give you 6 powerful, emotional, realistic truths that show you why women come back. But more importantly, how to never be the same man they once rejected. Every point is rooted in personal growth, ancient Stoic wisdom, and hard-earned experience. This isn't for the weak-hearted. It's for men who are ready to never beg again and to find peace inside the storm. Number 1. She comes back when she sees you're no longer her puppet. Let's break it down, raw and real. When a woman leaves you, especially if it's a cold rejection, deep inside she assumes one thing: you'll still be there. You'll wait. You'll try harder. You'll prove yourself. You'll stay emotionally available even when she's gone physically. But when she sees you don't chase, when she notices you didn't fall apart, it shakes something inside her. She expected the begging. She expected the pain. But what she got was your silence. And silence is loud when it comes from a man who once gave everything. This is where Stoicism hits hard. Epictetus said, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." You accepted the rejection, not with resentment, but with strength. You didn't try to change her mind. You let her go, not because you didn't care, but because you respected her choice. And most importantly, you respected yourself. That's when she starts watching. Maybe she won't admit it, but she checks your stories. She looks at your life from afar, and what she sees confuses her. You're not chasing anymore. You're building, you're glowing, you're improving, you're emotionally unavailable. Now let's make one thing clear. Not every woman who leaves comes back. But many do. Not because they love you now, but because they hate losing the control they once had over you. When you were emotionally tied to her, she felt powerful. The moment you became detached, you took that power back. And here's the part most men miss. If you respond immediately to her return, if you still have that emotional leash around your neck, she'll see you're still that same puppet. But if you've truly changed, your presence will feel different. You'll be calm, centered, and indifferent to her attention. That indifference, that's your power. That's Stoicism in action. And don't confuse indifference with cruelty. You don't have to be rude. You don't need to prove a point. You just don't need her approval anymore. That's why she comes back, to test if you've really moved on, or if you're just pretending. Pass that test, not by playing mind games, but by being so deeply focused on your purpose, your peace and your path, that her return no longer affects your direction. You see, she rejected a version of you that needed her. Now she sees a version of you that doesn't, and that scares her. Not because she wants to hurt you again, but because she wonders, what if I walked away from the man he was becoming? Number 2, she comes back when she sees other women want you. Let's be brutally honest. When she rejected you, part of her expected you to disappear from the radar of other women. She believed, either consciously or subconsciously, that she was the prize, and without her, your value would shrink. But here's where your evolution changes the game. As you grow, as you rebuild your confidence, as you focus on your body, your mindset, your finances, and your peace, something powerful begins to happen. Other women start noticing you, and whether she admits it or not, that triggers something primal inside her. It's not always love. Sometimes it's jealousy. Sometimes it's insecurity. But often, it's regret. Why? Because women are instinctively drawn to social proof. When she sees other women are curious about you, attracted to you, enjoying your presence, she starts to wonder, what did they see in him that I didn't? This is a real psychological effect. It's called mate value shift. Once your perceived value goes up, even the ones who left begin to see you differently. It's not because you begged for their attention. It's because you built a life that others admire. And Stoicism teaches us something incredibly relevant here. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You didn't waste your time chasing her. You used that time to build your life. And in doing so, you made yourself more attractive, not for her, but for your own future. Now the tables turn. When she sees you surrounded by feminine energy, when she sees you smiling, not faking it, but truly glowing, something hits her. A question starts creeping in. Did I leave too early? Was he really not the one? Or was I just too blind to see it then? But here's where most men fail. They take her return as validation. They start giving her attention again. They drop everything because it feels good to be wanted by the one who rejected them. But here's the truth. If you do that, you're back at square one. She's not returning because she loves you. She's returning because the man you've become is now respected by others, and she wants to reclaim that access. But you must remember, this version of you is sacred. He's earned. He's not someone you become overnight. And if you hand him over just to feel desired again, you're betraying all the pain, discipline, and solitude that helped you grow. So, when she comes back, acknowledge her presence. But don't get distracted. Stay rooted in your path. Keep building. Keep shining. Because the man who becomes attractive to many is the man who knows he doesn't need anyone's validation, not even hers. And that's the power that keeps women orbiting long after they've said goodbye. Number 3. She comes back when she feels her life isn't as fulfilled as she pretended. Here's a hard truth people don't talk about. When she left you, she didn't just walk away from a man. She walked away from a version of life she thought she didn't want. Maybe it was too peaceful. Maybe it felt too predictable. Maybe she thought she was missing out. So she ran toward excitement, validation, or independence. She said things like, "I just need to focus on myself," or "I want to explore." But fast forward 6 months, a year, and something shifts. That new freedom she ran toward, that new life she thought would complete her. It doesn't hit the same, because while you were learning how to live without her, She was slowly realizing how empty her new world felt without your presence. And here's the thing. She won't always come back with a grand apology. She may not even fully admit what happened. But emotionally, she feels it. The peace she once had with you is missing from everything else. This is where Stoicism offers clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." You figured that out. You stopped looking for happiness in her. You created it inside yourself. But maybe she didn't. Maybe she thought it was out there, in a new relationship, a new city, a new distraction. But none of it filled the gap. Now, in the quiet moments, when the excitement fades, you come back to her mind, not because of what you said, but because of how she felt around you, safe, accepted, grounded. She didn't find that feeling again. And now, she's wondering if she ever will. That's why she reaches out, not always to get back together, but to reconnect with that part of her life that actually felt complete. But now the question is, will she find the same man she left? Or will she find a man who's evolved so far beyond her that she can't even recognize him? You must become that man, not for revenge, not to win the breakup, but because you deserve a life where your peace doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. So, when she comes back, let her feel your strength. Let her sense that you've outgrown the version of yourself she once knew, and let her realize she didn't just lose a man, she lost a future she may never get back. Number 4, she comes back when she sees you've stopped talking about her. Here's a secret very few men realize. When you stop talking about her, not just publicly, but internally, that's when your power returns. Let's go back. After she rejected you, maybe you talked about it with friends. You vented, you asked questions, you tried to understand what went wrong. You posted cryptic quotes, you shared emotional stories. You were hurting, and that pain had to go somewhere. But here's the Stoic truth. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. And that includes trying to control the narrative, trying to be understood, or trying to prove you were the one who cared more. The moment you let that go, when you stop replaying the story, stop mentioning her name, stop stalking her social media, stop wondering how she's feeling, you reclaim your silence. And silence is not emptiness, it's power, it's detachment. It's a message that screams, "You no longer live in my mind." Women feel that. The moment she realizes you've stopped mentioning her, the moment she feels no energy coming from you, the moment your name and hers are no longer said in the same breath, she starts to notice. She might hear from mutual friends that you've moved on. She might see your energy shift. She might feel that void where she once took up space. That's when curiosity starts to grow in her mind. Has he really let go? Does he not care anymore? Has he replaced me in his heart? It's not always about love. It's about losing significance. And here's the harsh truth. Sometimes a woman's return isn't because she loves you again. It's because she can't stand the idea of no longer being a chapter in your story. When you stop talking about her, you stop feeding the past. You stop giving her emotional access. And your silence becomes undeniable proof that you've healed. She may return with a casual message. She may like your photo. She may accidentally show up in your space again. But it's not your job to decode her. It's your job to protect the new you. The man who has learned the art of quiet growth. The man who speaks less about the pain and more about the purpose. The man who isn't defined by who left, but by who he's becoming. When you stop talking about her, she starts talking about you. But by then, you won't need to listen, because silence will be your answer, and peace will be your reward. Number 5, she comes back when your absence becomes a statement. Let's talk about presence and absence. In today's world, most people believe being visible means being powerful, always posting, always sharing, always reacting. But here's a deeper truth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to disappear, not out of weakness, but out of intentional detachment. After she rejects you, she expects your presence to remain. She expects you'll still like her posts, still reply to her stories, still be watching her from the shadows, even if you never say a word. But when you disappear, when you stop showing up digitally, emotionally, even physically, your absence becomes louder than your words ever were. And that absence, it begins to echo. She starts asking, why isn't he watching? Why did he pull away so deeply? Did I actually lose something valuable? This is the power of Stoic withdrawal. Marcus Aurelius taught, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. You don't explain, you don't warn, you don't make a scene, you simply remove your energy and focus it inward. And suddenly, she doesn't feel you anymore. Not your presence, not your thoughts, not your attention. And that absence, like an empty space in a once familiar room, starts speaking to her. It says, you no longer have access to this soul. This man is building something bigger than you. You've become irrelevant in the story of his becoming. It's not about being petty. It's about being powerfully unavailable to the people who once walked away. And here's the strange part. Your absence can haunt someone more than your presence ever did, because your silence forces them to sit with themselves. And some people don't know how to do that. She may try to come back, not because she truly wants you again, but because she wants to stop feeling your absence. That's why you must be careful. Don't return just because she noticed. Don't break your silence just because it got attention. Let your absence speak, and let it say this: I don't need to be seen to feel valuable. I don't need to be heard to know my worth. I don't need to be with you to know who I am. That's Stoicism. That's power. That's growth. You used to be loud with your pain. Now you're silent with your purpose. And in that silence, she hears the loudest message of all. He's gone, and I might never get him back. Number 6. She comes back when she sees you've built a life she can't enter. There's a moment that changes everything. It's not when she blocks you. It's not when she moves on. It's not even when she says, I've made a mistake. The real shift happens when she sees your life has evolved to a level she can no longer access. Not because you're holding a grudge, not because you're punishing her, but because you've grown so far beyond the man she once knew. There's simply no room left for who she used to be in the world you're creating. That's the final transformation, and it terrifies her. Why? Because now your life is full. Your days are focused. Your circle is tighter. Your energy is sharper. Your habits are disciplined. You've replaced chaos with clarity. You no longer need her in your space. You've made peace with her absence and built a world that doesn't have a place for the drama, confusion, or emotional volatility that once came with her presence. And when she sees that, it stings, because in her mind there was always a chance, a back door, a soft landing, some hope that one day she could come back and pick up where things left off. But now she sees something she never expected. You've changed the locks, you've moved houses, and more than that, you've changed who lives there. The version of you that once needed her validation, he's gone. The one who waited by the phone, second-guessed himself, questioned his worth after her rejection. Gone. And in his place stands a man who is so grounded, so disciplined, so in love with his own life, that even if she knocked on your door, he might not hear it over the sound of his own purpose. That is Stoicism. Seneca said, "Until we have begun to go without them, we fail to realize how unnecessary many things are." She was once a necessity in your emotional world. Now she's a memory, a lesson, a turning point. When she sees the new you, she might still smile. She might still flirt. She might still test the waters. But when she finally realizes she's no longer needed and worse, no longer invited, that's when regret hits hardest. And this time, you don't even need to reject her. Your life does it for you. You've built something too pure, too peaceful, too meaningful to let confusion back in. Let her see it. Let her feel it. But don't dim your light just to make someone from your past feel comfortable in your future. You're not cruel. You're clear. You're not bitter. You're better. And that's why she comes back. Not to help you grow, but because your growth made her realize what she walked away from. But you've outgrown needing her to realize anything at all. Let's come full circle. She rejected you. She moved on. You were left with questions, pain, silence, and now she's coming back. But you're no longer the same. This entire journey wasn't about her changing her mind. It was about you changing your direction. That's the ultimate Stoic lesson. You didn't grow to win her back. You grew to never lose yourself again. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the core of this entire transformation. Your power wasn't in proving her wrong. It was in proving yourself right. You were worthy. You were strong. You were enough. Not when she returned, but when you stopped waiting. She didn't come back because she suddenly found new love for you. She came back because the man you became in her absence was irresistible, not to her, but to his own destiny. You became still, focused, unbothered. You stopped explaining your worth. You started living it. And now, she's a visitor in a world she never thought you could build without her. But you did. So here's what you must remember. You don't need her attention to feel valuable. You don't need her affection to feel loved. You don't need her approval to keep growing. You are no longer the man who was rejected. You are the man who rose from rejection and turned it into rebirth. If she comes back, let your silence speak louder than any words. If she stays gone, let your life prove you never needed her return to become whole. Keep walking, keep building, keep evolving, because the man who can be rejected, abandoned, left in silence, and still rise, that man is truly unstoppable, and that man is you.